The rain had been falling for hours, and by 2:37 in the morning, it felt like the entire city of New York was breathing in slow, wet lungfuls of exhaustion and electricity. Inside the dim bar where Lena Hart worked the overnight shift, the lights flickered every time a bus rolled past outside, and the neon beer sign hummed in a tired monotone that matched the rhythm of her heartbeat. That night she felt watched, even before she knew why. The first sign was her phone. It vibrated once with no message displayed. Then the screen lit up on its own, and the front camera clicked, as if someone somewhere had tapped to open it. Lena frowned, wiped her hands on her apron, and picked up the phone. Thinking it was a glitch from the cracked screen protector she had been meaning to replace. When she tried to lock it, the camera opened again, and this time the little green light stayed on. She whispered, "What is happening?" as if speaking quietly might convince the device to answer. The bar was empty, except for one man sleeping at a corner table who would not wake up even if a hurricane hit the building. Lena stepped back, letting the phone screen drop to black in her palm. Her next thought was of her little sister back home sleeping in their tiny apartment 2 subway stops away. She needed the extra hours tonight, but a cold fear tapped along her spine as if warning her that money would not matter if something darker followed her home. She shook it off and returned to cleaning the counters, but the feeling only grew stronger, like unseen eyes had moved closer. It was almost 3 when she carried a bag of trash toward the back door. The alley light outside flickered with static as she pushed the metal door open, letting the cold rain soak through her shirt sleeves in seconds. She stepped out, took 3 steps toward the dumpster, and then froze. A tall shadow stood at the end of the narrow alley, unmoving and facing her with a stillness that felt wrong in every way. She could not see the face, only the outline of someone dressed in dark clothes, hands at their sides, head angled as if studying her, the same way a predator studies a distraction before choosing the moment to strike. For a heartbeat, her lungs refused to work. She dropped the trash bag and staggered back into the bar, slamming the door shut with a trembling hand. She grabbed for the manager phone behind the counter, but before she could dial, the front door of the bar swung open with a rush of wind and rain. Lena spun around, expecting the shadow to step in, but instead she saw a different figure entering. A tall man in a black suit, drenched from the storm strands of dark hair clinging to his forehead, his shoulders filling the narrow doorway with a quiet, intimidating presence. Adrian Blackwood. She recognized him only because his face had been on the news recently, in stories about billion-dollar security software, and whispered rumors of someone trying to take him down. But she had never met him. She did not move. He stepped forward, water dripping onto the floor, leaving a sharp scent of rain and expensive cologne in the air. His eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that felt too direct, too certain, as if he had rehearsed the moment 100 times. "Lena Hart," he said. Her breath stopped short. He should not know her name. She backed up until the jukebox pressed against her spine. "How do you know who I am? Who are you? What do you want?" But Adrian was not looking at her now. He was looking past her through the glass of the front windows, scanning the street with a soldier-like awareness. His jaw clenched as he inhaled sharply. "We do not have much time. You are not safe here." The words were low, steady, and laced with urgency. Lena scoffed, but the sound cracked with fear. "Safe from who? Why are you even here?" Adrian turned to face her fully, And in that instant, she saw something beneath the calm surface of his expression, something like calculation and worry, blended into a single decision he had already made long before she entered the scene. "Pretend to be my girlfriend," he said. "I will pay you whatever you need." Lena blinked, stunned. She stared at the stranger who looked like he had stepped off a magazine cover, yet spoke like someone accustomed to fires burning behind every door. "That is not funny," she whispered. "I do not know you. I do not even know why you are in my bar." He moved closer, not touching her, but the air between them tightened. "You were followed tonight, Lena. Do not try to deny that you felt it." She swallowed hard because the truth had teeth. The phone, the shadow, the cold in her spine. Adrian glanced again at the window. His voice dropped. "He is not gone, and if he comes back, you will not make it to sunrise." Lena felt herself shaking. "Why would someone follow me? I am nobody." "You are not nobody," he said. "Not to them." She clutched the edge of the counter. Her thoughts jumped to her sister, alone at home, and to the stack of hospital bills shoved under the cereal box in their kitchen. She could not afford danger. She could not afford anything except survival. Adrian's expression softened only barely, but enough for her to sense a deeper truth he was not saying. He stepped even closer until she could see the rain sliding down his cheekbones like lines drawn by a trembling hand. "I need you to listen to me, Lena. I am offering you safety. I am offering you a way out of whatever this is. But we have to leave now, and you have to trust me enough to walk out of here with me." He looked at her like her decision mattered more than any contract he had ever signed. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the silence between them. The shadow outside shifted its weight, barely visible, through the rain-streaked window. Adrian's hand twitched, as if ready to pull her into motion at the slightest threat. Then he said with a quiet force that broke through her panic, "Get in the car, Lena, before he comes closer." Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she weighed the impossible choices of the night. Everything inside her screamed not to trust him, but everything outside the bar was darker, more dangerous, and coming for her fast. And as the storm raged, she realized that stepping toward Adrian might be the only chance she had left to protect the one person she loved most. The storm outside felt heavier when Lena stepped toward the open door and saw the black SUV idling at the curb, its engine humming like a warning beneath the roar of the rain. Adrian walked beside her, not touching her, but staying close enough that she could feel the measured tension in his movements. He scanned the street again before guiding her toward the vehicle with a calm firmness that felt strange for someone she had just met. The moment she slid into the back seat, the scent of leather and cold air wrapped around her, and she pulled her arms tight against her chest. Adrian entered after her, shutting the door with a thud that cut off the world outside and plunged the interior into a muffled silence. The driver, a man with sharp eyes in the rearview mirror, nodded once to Adrian, then began pulling away from the curb. Only when they were deep into the dark veins of the city streets did Lena finally release the breath she had been holding. "Tell me what is happening," she whispered, "and tell me why you know my name." Adrian glanced at her from the shadows cast by the SUV lights, his voice steady, as if explaining an equation he had solved hours ago. "Someone has been using your identity, Lena, your phone, your network, your name. They breached one of my systems last night, using access points that trace back to you." Lena shook her head immediately. "I do not know anything about that. I do not even understand half of what you just said. I work in a bar. I sweep floors and refill glasses. Why would anyone use my name? Adrian studied her face carefully, and what he saw there made his voice soften. That is exactly why they chose you, he said. Because you are invisible to the digital world, a clean slate. Nobody would expect it to be you. Lena stared at him, feeling the weight of his words crush down on her chest. She thought of the green light on her phone camera, of the strange vibration of the shadow in the alley. Fear crawled into her breath. What did they steal? Adrian looked straight ahead as the city lights flickered past the windows like blurred stars. A technology blueprint worth 180 million. Something no one was supposed to have access to except me. Lena swallowed hard. And you think I did that? Adrian shook his head quickly. No, you are not capable of this. I knew that the moment I saw your face. Lena blinked, not sure how he could be so certain. Then why did you come to me? Why do you need me to pretend to be your girlfriend? Adrian turned his body slightly toward her, and in the faint reflection of passing street lamps, she saw something behind his eyes that was not fear but strategy. Because the person using your identity was not working alone. They wanted to lure me out, and using you was the easiest way. They are watching you, Lena, following you, and if they believe you are under my protection, it changes the game. She frowned. How? Because he said I am not a man they want to confront directly, but you have already been pulled into their web. So now you must stay where I can reach you. She felt the panic rising inside her. But I have a sister at home. She is only 14. She is alone tonight. Adrian leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His voice dropped so low she felt it more than heard it. I know about Ava. Lena stiffened. How do you know her name? Because I looked you up earlier today, he said plainly. I needed to know who was being targeted. Lena felt anger spark in her chest. So you have been watching me too. He closed his eyes for a brief second as if choosing how honest to be. I have been protecting you from a distance, he said. There is a difference. She hugged herself tighter, unsure whether to fall apart or lash out. Her voice cracked. My sister needs medication, trauma therapy. I work 2 shifts and it is still not enough. I cannot just disappear from her life because some stranger followed me. Adrian looked at her with a quiet intensity. What if I told you that you would not have to worry about any of that again? Her heart stumbled. What are you saying? I will pay for her treatment, all of it. Every bill, every appointment, whatever she needs. Lena felt the world tilt. Why would you do that for me? I do not even know you. Because I need you, he said simply, and because you are already in danger. Her throat tightened. If I say no, then you go home and hope the man from the alley does not decide tonight is the night he finishes what he started. She shivered. And if I say yes, then you come with me to my penthouse and you stay under my protection for 60 days. You will pretend to be my girlfriend, publicly, consistently. The world will believe it, and so will the people who are after you. And in return, every problem you have becomes my responsibility. Lena pressed her palms against her thighs, fighting the tremor running through her. 60 days is a long time. Adrian nodded. I know. That is why there is one condition. His eyes met hers and held them with a gravity that made her pulse quicken. You must live where I can see you, at all times. What does that even mean? You will stay in my penthouse. You will not go anywhere without being driven by my security team. and you will not turn off your location, ever. Lena felt the air pull tight around her. That sounds like a cage. Adrian did not flinch. It is safety, and safety is not always gentle. The SUV slowed at a red light. Rain battered the windows like soft fists. Lena's thoughts were a storm of their own. She remembered her sister's thin arms, the sleepless nights, the medical bills stacked like a quiet threat on their kitchen counter. She thought of the alley, the shadow that did not move, the camera that recorded on its own. She was already drowning, and now this man offered her a way to breathe, even if his hands were the ones holding her under the water. She whispered, "Why me?" He answered, "Because you did not choose any of this, and because I am the only one who can get you out." The SUV turned down a deserted block. At the corner under a broken streetlight, Lena saw him again. The same shadow from the alley standing on the sidewalk, his head following the car as it passed. Her breath vanished. Adrian leaned close enough that she felt the heat of his shoulder. "Get in the car, Lena," he repeated, echoing his earlier words, but this time his voice held something deeper than urgency, something like a promise. Before he comes closer. Her decision sealed itself inside her chest with a single thought. She needed to live long enough to protect her sister. The first thing Lena noticed as the SUV pulled into the underground entrance was the silence, not the normal hush of city insulation, but a manufactured, engineered silence that felt deliberate, like a held breath. The elevator doors opened the moment Adrian stepped out, as though the building itself recognized him. He gestured for Lena to follow, and she did, her heart pounding as the polished interior lit up with soft white light. A smooth electronic chime sounded, and a voice gentle but not human filled the chamber. "Welcome back, Mr. Blackwood. Monitoring systems are active. Shall I prepare the residence for 2 occupants?" Lena blinked. "Is that a person?" Adrian responded without looking at her. "That is Aura. She controls the building functions." Aura greeted Lena by name, and her breath caught in her throat. "How does she know me?" Adrian responded calmly. "Because you are under my protection now." Lena stayed close to the wall as the elevator rose through 73 floors of steel and glass. She did not feel safe, but she felt something like inevitability, which was somehow worse. When the doors opened, she stepped into a world that felt too quiet and too expensive to be real. The penthouse was breathtaking, a vast open space, framed by floor-to-ceiling windows that displayed the New York skyline like a moving painting. City lights glimmered beneath a sky still bruised with storm clouds, and the reflection of the room shimmered across the glass, making it look infinite. Lena took a hesitant step inside her shoes, sinking into a rug softer than anything she had ever touched. Everything was sleek and minimal and impossibly clean. "Aura, dim the lights," Adrian said, and the air itself seemed to obey. Soft, warm tones replaced the brighter ones, casting long shadows that made the space feel both intimate and intimidating. Lena turned slowly, taking in the glass staircase that spiraled to a second level, the marble counters, the black grand piano, the fireplace built into a wall of stone. She wondered how anyone could live in a place that looked like a magazine spread. Then she remembered Adrian Blackwood was not just anyone. He watched her quietly as she moved deeper into the room. "You can explore," he said, "but there are a few rules you need to understand first." She stopped swallowing hard. "Rules." Adrian nodded once, stepping closer, until she could see the raindroplets drying on his dark hair. "Aura monitors everything inside this penthouse. Your vitals, your movement, your location, 24/7. Lena felt her stomach twist. That sounds invasive. Adrian met her gaze with steady seriousness. It is protection. This is the safest location in Manhattan, and if anything happens, Aura alerts me instantly. She stared at the floor. So I am basically being tracked like a package. Tectively, he repeated again, but his voice softened. And only until we shut down whoever is targeting you. Lena walked toward the windows, needing space to breathe, but the skyline made her feel even smaller. None of this feels normal, she whispered. Adrian joined her at the glass, his reflection a dark figure behind hers. It is not normal. Nothing about the situation you are in is normal. That is why you cannot go home. He paused, studying her expression. The man who followed you is not working alone, and they know you are connected to me now. Lena pressed a hand against her forehead, overwhelmed. How do you know they are after me and not you? Because he said you are the only variable that changed this week, and because they have already accessed your network. Lena turned sharply. My network? I do not even have a network. Adrian gave her a look that was almost gentle. Your phone, your public Wi-Fi history, your barred employee system login. That is enough for someone skilled. A pulse of panic ran through her. Adrian continued before she could speak. Follow me. She reluctantly did, letting him guide her past the living room to a hallway lined with abstract paintings that probably cost more than her entire yearly income. He stopped at a white door with a biometric scanner. When it opened, Lena choked on her breath. Inside was a bedroom of impossible scale. A king-sized bed draped in soft linen, a wall of windows, a vanity filled with neatly arranged items, a closet door partially open, revealing shelves and racks already stocked with clothing. Her clothing. How did you get these? She whispered, stepping forward. These are my sizes. The tags say my exact measurements. Adrian leaned against the doorframe, his posture easy, his eyes unreadable. I do not make decisions without precision. You will be attending public events with me. You need attire suited for that. Lena touched a navy dress, her fingers trembling. This is too much. I cannot accept clothes that cost more than my rent. You are not paying for them, he countered. It is part of your role. She spun around, tears rising uninvited. But it is still my life, my choices. Adrian took a slow breath, as if weighing how much to reveal. Lena, I am not replacing your choices. I am replacing your danger with structure. That is the only path we have right now. She looked at him, wanting to argue, but nothing came out. After another moment, he spoke quietly. And there is something else you should know. She weighted her chest tight. Tomorrow the media will see us together. The words crashed against her like a wave. What? No, no, Adrian. You cannot be serious. I am a bartender who barely makes rent. People will tear me apart. They will call me a scammer, a liar, a gold digger. He stepped closer, careful, almost cautious. They will call you whatever they want, but what matters is that they believe we are together. That will keep you safe. Lena shook her head, backing away, until her shoulders hit the wall. I cannot do that. I cannot be paraded around like some trophy. Adrian froze, studying her with something like frustration and something else that felt like concern. You think I enjoy this? You think I want to drag someone innocent into my world? I am doing this because the alternative is letting you disappear into the hands of people who will not hesitate to use you as leverage. She stared back, breathing hard. And pretending to date the richest man in the city is supposed to make me feel better. Adrian held her gaze. No, but knowing your sister will have everything she needs might. The room fell silent. Lena squeezed her eyes shut, fighting tears. She pictured Ava asleep on their worn couch, the prescription bottles lined up on the counter. The day their mother died. The nights Ava woke up screaming. Lena opened her eyes, her voice barely audible. And if I do this, what happens to her? Adrian answered without hesitation. She will be protected. She will have medical support therapy access to everything she needs. I will make sure no one gets near her. Lena wanted to hate him for having the power to fix everything she could not. She wanted to run, but she also wanted her sister to live and heal and breathe again. Adrian stepped back, giving her space. You do not have to decide right now. Sleep, think. In the morning we will prepare for the world to see you at my side. Lena exhaled shakily, glancing around the luxury that did not feel like hers. Aura dimmed the lights further, and the city glow softened around her. She whispered to no one and to herself, "This is not my life." Adrian paused in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the soft gold light. "It is not forever, Lena, just 60 days. Then you walk away with your freedom, your safety, and your sister healed." She nodded, but her chest still felt tight. Adrian gave her a long, quiet look before turning to leave. Just before he stepped into the hall, he said the words that unsettled her more than anything else he had said. "Tomorrow you start acting like you are mine." Then he closed the door, leaving her alone in a world she never asked to enter. Lena barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the man from the alley, or the green glow of her camera, or the cold, controlled certainty in Adrian's eyes as he told her the world would see them together. When morning came, she dressed in one of the outfits laid out in her closet, a soft cream blouse and tailored trousers that fit too perfectly to be coincidence. Aura welcomed her the moment she stepped into the living room, adjusting the temperature and lighting as if sensing her nervous heart rate. Adrian emerged from his study wearing a charcoal suit with a crisp white shirt. No tie, just enough undone to make him look human, yet still so far out of reach. It made her chest tighten. "You ready?" he asked, and though his tone was neutral, she could hear the unspoken weight beneath it. "Not really," she admitted. "Good," he replied, "because only liars say they are ready for what comes next." The elevator ride down was painfully quiet. When the doors opened, they did not step into an empty lobby but a corridor packed with security personnel, each nodding as Adrian passed. Lena hugged her arms around herself, feeling more exposed than ever. Outside, a black sedan waited, cameras already flashing from across the street as paparazzi recognized the vehicle. Adrian opened the door for her, guiding her inside before sliding in next to her. The moment the car pulled away, the shouting began. "Who is she? Adrian, is this your new girlfriend? How long have you been together?" Lena shrank back against the seat, but Adrian placed his hand very lightly on her knee, an anchor as he murmured, "Do not react. Look ahead, keep your chin up. You belong with me." The words should have sounded like a command. Somehow they steadied her. The car rolled to a stop in front of the Metropolitan Tech Summit, a sprawling glass building adorned with banners and giant screens broadcasting the event live. The second Adrian stepped out, the crowd erupted. Lena could feel the heat of the lights, the pull of dozens of lenses aimed at her like weapons. Her palms grew slick, but Adrian reached back, offering his hand. "Take it," he murmured so quietly, only she could hear. She did. The world roared. Cameras exploded in flashes as Adrian clasped her hand firmly and pulled her to his side. His other hand slid to the small of her back, guiding her with casual possessiveness that made the crowd frenzy even more. Adrian Blackwood brings mystery woman. Adrian finally dating. Anonymous source suggests he is in a serious relationship. Lena forced her face into something neutral while her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. She spotted her reflection in one of the camera's screens. Her eyes wide, her lips parted, a girl who did not belong in this world pretending she did. Adrian leaned down his lips, brushing the edge of her hair. "Breathe," he murmured. "I will handle the rest." His presence shielded her as they walked toward the entrance past security checkpoints until they reached the lobby where the noise softened into a controlled hum. She exhaled slowly, though her chest still felt tight. "You did well," Adrian said, as if sensing her spiraling thoughts. They believed it. She glanced up at him. "How can you tell?" "Because they cannot imagine someone like me being close to someone who is not performing," he said simply. "You look real. That is what they respond to." Before she could ask what that meant, a voice sliced through the air. "Adrian, what is this?" A woman approached, tall with sleek black hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She wore a navy jumpsuit and a badge that read Ava Chen, Chief Technology Officer. Adrian tensed subtly. "Ava, this is Lena, my girlfriend." The words left his mouth smoothly, but Ava's eyebrows rose in disbelief. "Your girlfriend," she repeated slowly, her gaze flicking over Lena's clothes, her posture, her visible discomfort. "Since when?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Since 3 months ago." Ava crossed her arms, clearly unconvinced. "Interesting, because I review every security clearance for your building." She looked at Lena, her eyes narrowing. "And I have never heard of you." Lena felt her stomach drop. Ava turned back to Adrian. "You do not date, you work, you isolate, you avoid people. So forgive me if this sudden relationship seems strange." Adrian's voice cooled. "If I wanted an interrogation, Ava, I would sit in on one of your audits. I am introducing her, not asking permission." Ava's eyes darted between them, then softened only a fraction. "If you are in danger, she should not be here," she said quietly. Adrian's expression flickered. "It is handled." That was enough. Ava stepped aside, but not without one long, lingering look at Lena that said she saw far more than she let on. Adrian guided Lena toward the main hall, where hundreds of people gathered beneath massive screens, showcasing new innovations and live interviews. The moment they entered, conversations fell quiet as heads turned. Adrian Blackwood was not just another tech billionaire. He was a myth, a ghost in human form, a man known for brilliance and for never letting anyone close. Till now. Lena felt the weight of every eye, the whisper of every assumption. People murmured, "Gold digger, lucky girl publicity stunt," but beneath it there was something else, too. Curiosity, hunger, suspicion, as if she were a puzzle piece that did not fit in the glossy world around her. A group of executives approached, shaking Adrian's hand, offering greetings. He introduced her each time with the same unwavering tone. "This is Lena, my girlfriend." She tried to smile, but her throat kept tightening. A flash of panic hit. What if she made a mistake? What if she said the wrong thing? Adrian seemed to read her mind, because he leaned down and murmured softly, "Only talk when you want to. You do not owe anyone here anything. Just stay close to me." The way he said it made her feel strangely safe, even while drowning in attention. Midway through the event, a reporter stepped in front of them. microphone raised with the confidence of someone who feared nothing. Adrian, congratulations on going public with your relationship. What can you tell us about Lena? Lena froze. Adrian slid a hand to her waist, pulling her subtly closer. The truth, he said simply. She is the only person in my life who does not want anything from me. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The reporter smiled. And you, Lena, how does it feel dating one of the most powerful men in the country? Lena's throat closed. Adrian's fingers tightened at her side, a silent reassurance. It is new, she managed, trying not to sound terrified. And overwhelming. The crowd loved it. They loved her honesty. The reporter stepped aside, and Adrian leaned close, a shadow of approval in his voice. You did well. She nodded, but inside she felt like bursting. She needed air. She excused herself and stepped toward a quieter corridor, pressing a hand against the wall as she tried to steady her breathing. She barely heard the footsteps approaching until a quiet, familiar voice said, You do not trust him, do you? Ava Chen stood against the opposite wall, arms, crossed, eyes sharp but not unkind. You barely looked at him during the interview. Your hands are shaking. Lena swallowed. I just met everyone. It is overwhelming. Ava studied her. Adrian does not trust people. He barely speaks to anyone outside work. So for him to bring you here, something happened, something big. Lena looked away, unsure what she could safely say. Ava stepped closer, her voice low. If he got you involved in something dangerous, you need to know the truth. The words made Lena's skin prickle, but before she could answer, Adrian appeared at the end of the corridor, his eyes darkening as he approached. Ava nodded toward him. Talk to her, Adrian, before someone else does. Then she walked away, heels echoing through the corridor. Adrian stopped in front of Lena, searching her face. You good? She nodded, though she felt anything but. I just needed a moment. His jaw relaxed slightly. Then let us go. Stay next to me. The rest of the summit blurred past in a haze of lights, cameras, and curated interactions. And through it all, Adrian stayed close, guiding her, shielding her, watching her in a way that both unsettled and anchored her. When they finally returned to the car hours later, Lena sank into the leather seat, her body buzzing with exhaustion and disbelief. Is this your world? She whispered. Adrian looked out the window at the flashing lights fading behind them. No, he said softly. This is the world I own. Then he turned to her, his gaze steady and unsettling. And now you are part of it. The penthouse was darker than usual when they returned that night. Aura had lowered the lights to a soft amber glow that washed gently across the marble floor, as if sensing how drained Lena felt. Adrian removed his suit jacket in one smooth motion, tossing it onto a chair as Lena lingered hesitantly near the door, unsure if she should speak or simply disappear into the bedroom provided for her. The silence between them hummed with something unspoken, a tension that had built ever since the summit. She could still feel the weight of his hand on her back, the press of cameras, the eyes of strangers peeling her apart. Adrian walked toward the bar, pouring a glass of water and downing half of it before finally turning his gaze to her. You handled today better than I expected, he said quietly. She let out a fragile breath. You mean I did not faint in front of the entire tech world? His lips twitched in something that resembled amusement. You survived, he said. That is what matters. Lena stepped farther into the room, her nerves frayed, her thoughts spiraling. Ava was right, she said softly. This world is not made for someone like me. It feels like I am pretending to be someone I am not." Adrian leaned a hand on the edge of the counter, watching her carefully. "Pretending is part of survival sometimes. You know that." He was not wrong, but the truth of it scraped painfully against her chest. She turned to the window, the city stretching endlessly beneath them. "Are you always like this?" she whispered. "Always composed, always prepared, always in control." There was a stretch of silence before Adrian responded, and when he did, his voice was lower, more honest. "No, not always." She looked at him, surprised by the vulnerability threading through his tone. Aura suddenly dimmed the lights further, as if sensing a shift. Adrian walked past her without a word, and she followed him to a hallway she had not explored yet. He stopped at a closed door and pressed his thumb to the scanner. The lock clicked, releasing softly. The room beyond was not what Lena expected. It was small, almost modest, lit only by a single lamp in the corner. A large framed photograph sat on a shelf, two people smiling in front of an airplane. Lena stepped closer, her breath catching. "Your parents." Adrian nodded, once his jaw tightening. "They were engineers," he said. "They designed secure systems for flight control. They loved what they did. They believed technology was supposed to protect people." Lena traced the outline of the photo with her eyes, noticing the warmth in their faces, the way they leaned into each other. "What happened?" she whispered. Adrian stared at the photograph for a long moment before answering. 15 years ago, someone hacked the system they built. A false signal was sent. The plane crashed. No survivors. Lena covered her mouth, a sharp ache filling her chest. Adrian continued, his voice steady, but threaded with a slow, controlled fury. "The man responsible vanished into the digital void. But I never stopped looking. Everything I built, every security protocol, every system, every algorithm was created to make sure no one else could be blindsided the way they were." Lena had never seen him like this, stripped of the armor he wore in public. The brilliance, the coldness, the precision, all of it suddenly made sense. "You have been carrying this alone," she whispered. He did not look away from the photograph. "Alone is safer, until someone becomes leverage." He turned to her then, his expression hardening with memory. "I lost them because someone used the weakest point in the system. That is what vulnerability does, Lena. It gets people killed." She felt the words settle heavily between them. "Is that why you do not let anyone close?" Adrian exhaled slowly, his eyes meeting hers with a rawness she had not seen before. "I learned early that relationships are liabilities. Attachments create openings, weaknesses. People can be used against you. People you care about can be taken from you." He paused, then added quietly, "So I built walls and compartments and systems. I learned to trust only logic, data, and structures I create. Nothing emotional, nothing unpredictable, nothing human." Lena stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "But that is not living, Adrian. That is surviving." He looked at her, then really looked at her, and something inside him shifted, almost imperceptibly. "Maybe surviving is the only thing I know how to do." Lena swallowed, her heart tightening as she studied him. There was a bruise on his knuckle she had not noticed before, evidence of how hard he had fought last night to protect her. Without thinking, she reached out gently, taking his hand. He tensed instantly, but he did not pull away. Her thumb brushed the bruise lightly. "Does it hurt?" His voice was a murmur. "No, not compared to other things." She met his gaze, and in that moment, something softened between them. A fragile thread forming in the silence. Aura interrupted quietly. Adrian, his vitals indicate elevated stress. Should I adjust the lighting? No, he said sharply. Then softer, no aura. Lena hesitated, then spoke gently. You do not have to show me this. You're past your pain. You do not owe me anything. His fingers curled slightly around hers as if on instinct. I know, but you saw something today. He said, his voice quiet and heavy. You saw the version of me that the world reacts to. The armor, the myth. If you are going to survive this role, you should know the man underneath. She studied him, realizing he was letting her see what no one else did. The loneliness, the weight he carried, the fractured humanity hidden beneath layers of steel and strategy. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled. Your parents would be proud of what you built, of what you have done. Their work was meant to protect people, and you took that mission and turned it into something even greater. Adrian swallowed the faintest flicker of emotion, breaking through his stern composure. They would have liked you, he murmured. Lena felt heat rise in her chest at the unexpected softness. She squeezed his hand gently before releasing it. He watched her, his eyes shadowed, but no longer cold. She stepped back, unsure of what to say when he spoke again. You should rest. Tomorrow will be more intense. The media will obsess over today. Reporters will speculate. Some will dig into your history. They will try to break you down, because that is what they do. Lena nodded, feeling a spike of fear. Adrian stepped closer, his voice low. If you feel overwhelmed, tell me. If you are in danger, call my name and I will come. If the world becomes too heavy, I will carry it. The sincerity in his tone pushed tears to her eyes. She looked up at him, seeing not the billionaire, not the myth, not the controlled machine of precision and strength. She saw a man who had learned to survive by shutting himself away from the world, and who, for reasons she did not fully understand, was letting her see the cracks in his armor. She whispered softly, "You are not what people think you are." Adrian moved even closer, his breath brushing her forehead. "And I need you to see me anyway," he said, repeating the words from earlier, but now with an ache heavy enough to steal her breath. She felt the world tilt gently around them, the distance between their bodies charged with something fragile and growing. But he stepped back, breaking the moment. "Get some sleep," he murmured, his voice rougher than before. She nodded, turning toward the bedroom, though her heart remained in the room behind her. As she walked away, she felt his gaze follow her like a silent confession. Behind her, Adrian stood alone, staring at the photograph of his parents. For the first time in years, he whispered something almost too quiet for the room to carry. "Maybe letting someone in is not the weakness I thought." Lena paused in the hallway, hearing the faint echo of his voice, and wondered if she was stepping into something far deeper than a simple arrangement. Perhaps for the first time in both their lives, neither of them was truly alone. Lena woke before dawn, her heart racing as if some invisible alarm had sounded inside her chest. The penthouse was silent, too silent, the kind of stillness that felt unnatural, as though the entire building were holding its breath. She pushed herself from the bed, rubbing sleep from her eyes, and stepped into the hallway. That was when she noticed it, a faint red glow coming from under the door of Adrian's study. She approached slowly, unsure if she should knock or turn around, but before she could decide, the door jerked open, revealing Adrian standing in the center of the room, his hair disheveled, his eyes sharp and cold, like tempered glass. "Do not come in," he said, his voice low. "Something is wrong." The screens behind him flickered in a rain of cascading data lines like a storm made of code. Aura's voice came through the speakers, tight-clipped, controlled. Unauthorized intrusion detected. Network breach level 3. Tracing source. Lena felt her stomach drop. Breach. Someone got inside your system. Adrian did not look at her. No, they got inside this building network, and they were searching for you. The words hit like ice water. Why me? Adrian finally met her gaze, and there was something terrifying in the calm precision of his voice. Because whoever is behind this has realized you are the one weakness they can exploit. Before Lena could respond, the lights flickered off, plunging the study into darkness, except for the glow of the monitors. Aura spoke again. Power fluctuation detected, switching to backup. Adrian cursed under his breath, grabbing Lena's wrist, pulling her out of the room with a speed that made her stumble. "We are going downstairs," he ordered. "Panic room now." His grip was firm, not cruel, but urgent. She could feel the tremor beneath his skin, the barely contained fear he refused to show. The elevator doors opened before they even reached them, Aura operating autonomously. As they stepped inside, Lena gasped at the sight on the small security feed. A figure dressed entirely in black stood in the alley outside the building, staring directly at one of the cameras as if he knew he was being watched. "That is him," she whispered, "the man from the bar, the one who followed me." Adrian slammed his palm against the emergency panel, shutting down external feeds. "Your phone," he said abruptly. "Give it to me." Lena fumbled, pulling it from her pocket. He snatched it from her hand, tossed it to the floor, and stomped down with his heel, crushing it in a violent, clean motion. Lena jumped. "Why would you? Your phone is compromised," he snapped. "Whoever is hunting you used it to triangulate your location. You should have told me you still had it powered on." She felt tears of panic threaten. "I did not know. I thought it was safe here." Adrian's expression tightened for a moment, then softened. "I am not angry with you. I am angry with myself for not anticipating every angle." He ran a hand through his hair. "This is escalating faster than I predicted." The elevator shuddered as they descended, and Lena clenched the railing, her pulse pounding. When the doors opened, they stepped into a stark concrete corridor, illuminated by pale emergency lights. Adrian tapped a hidden panel, and a heavy reinforced door slid open, revealing a panic room, outfitted with biometric locks. A small bed, a ventilation system, and several monitors displaying internal and external feeds. Lena stepped inside, feeling cold all over. "What is happening?" she whispered. Adrian stood in front of her tense jaw carved in stone. "Someone out there is trying to replicate the breach that killed my parents," he said quietly. "Someone who knows my entire life is built around preventing that from ever happening again." Aura interrupted. Adrian intruder attempt traced. Something flashed across the screens. Lines of code signatures, address points. Then a name appeared. A name Lena recognized instantly. Eli. Her breath stopped, her chest constricting painfully. The room blurred. "No," she whispered. "No, that does not make sense. He would never." Adrian's eyes snapped to her sharp, with a truth he had not yet spoken. "You need to listen to me. This is going to hurt, but I will not let you walk into it blind." Lena backed away, her hands trembling. "Eli would not do this. He is not dangerous. He left me, but he is not a criminal." Adrian shook his head. "He did not leave you, Lena. He used you. He hid behind you. You were the perfect cover. It is why he dated you in the first place." Lena felt the world sway beneath her feet. No, stop. You do not know him. But even as she said it, something inside her cracked. Small memories resurfaced sharp in hindsight. Eli always asking to borrow her laptop. Eli insisting on connecting her phone to strange Wi-Fi networks. Eli telling her she was paranoid when she questioned things. Eli saying she should stop using passwords and let him manage her accounts. Adrian stepped closer, his voice softer but heavier. He stole from me, Lena, $180 million worth of data and proprietary tech, and he used your identity to do it. A choked sound escaped her throat. I did not know. I thought he cared about me. Adrian's eyes darkened with something painful. I know. That is why I am telling you this as gently as I can. If you walk out of this building right now, if you try to go on your own, he will reach you before I can. And I cannot promise you will survive that encounter. She pressed both hands to her mouth, tears spilling over. How long have you known? Since the night I met you, he admitted. I suspected it the moment the hack traced back to your account. But when I saw you in that alley, I realized you had no idea. You were not involved. You were just collateral. She shook her head, her whole body trembling. I feel sick. He reached for her, then hesitated as if unsure if he had the right. Lena. She looked up through tears. Why did you not tell me earlier? Adrian exhaled slowly. Because you were already drowning, and because I needed to confirm it before I shattered what you believed about someone you trusted. He lowered his voice. I needed to be sure you were innocent. His words broke her. She sank onto the edge of the small bed, her breathing uneven. Adrian knelt in front of her, something raw flickering in his eyes. Listen to me. You are not to blame. He manipulated you. He used you. That is not your failure. That is his. She wanted to believe him. She wanted the words to reach her. But the pain was too sharp, too new, too deep. Aura spoke again. Lena's vitals indicate severe distress. Recommend rest. Adrian snapped. Not now, Aura. Then softer with his attention back on her. Lena, you are safe here. You are protected. But I cannot protect you if you run from the truth. She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. I need to get to my sister. She is alone. What if Eli goes after her? Adrian stood, placing a hand on the wall scanner. Already handled, he said. 2 of my men are at her building. She is safe. Lena's breath hitched. You did that. When? The moment Aura picked up the breach. She looked up at him, seeing the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the regret threading through his voice. When he said, I should have told you sooner, the world seemed to tilt again, but this time it was his presence grounding her. He stepped closer, slowly giving her time to pull away. But she did not. When she finally whispered, I cannot believe he betrayed me. Adrian's expression softened in a way she had never seen before. I can, he said, because I have seen that kind of betrayal before. And then he reached forward gently, lifting her into his arms when her legs gave out from shock. Lena did not fight it. She let her forehead rest against his shoulder, her tears soaking into the fabric of his shirt. His voice was low, steady, the closest thing to tenderness she had ever heard from him. You are not bait to me, Lena. Not anymore. Lena did not remember falling asleep. She only remembered the crushing weight of everything she had learned in the panic room, the truth about Eli, the betrayal, the way Adrian had held her when her body finally gave out. When her eyes opened hours later, the room was quiet. The hum of the ventilation steadied the screens on standby. Adrian was gone. Panic flared instantly. She pushed herself up, staggering slightly, before bursting out into the hallway calling his name. Aura responded calmly. Adrian is in the operations room. He instructed that you be allowed to rest. But Lena was already moving her heart, pounding her chest tight. She found him standing before a wall of screens, each displaying different angles of the city, his attention fixed on one particular feed. Without turning, he said, "You should not be up yet. You need rest." She ignored that, her eyes narrowing at the footage. "That is my sister's building," she whispered. "Why are your men out front looking like that?" Adrian finally looked at her, his expression tense with something that resembled fear but more controlled. "Because something is happening," he said quietly. "Something I did not want you to see." Lena stepped closer until she could see it clearly. Two security men stationed by the door, one on the phone, the other scanning the street, their stances far too rigid. Then a third figure appeared on the corner, dark clothing, hood up, walking, slowly, too slowly, as if measuring the distance between himself and the building. Lena pressed a hand to the glass wall of screens, her breath trembling. "Is that him?" Adrian exhaled a slow, sharp breath. "Yes, that is him." Lena whipped toward him, her voice shaking. "Then what are we doing here? We have to go." She bolted toward the elevator, but Adrian caught her arm, pulling her back with firm, controlled strength. "You cannot run into this," he said sharply. "You think he will not hurt you, or worse, use you." Lena tried to yank free, desperation rising. "My sister is in there. She is alone. She needs me." Adrian stepped closer, his grip not tightening but anchoring her. "Listen to me. We are going to her, but we do this carefully. My team is already moving." Lena froze her breath, hiccuping. "You promise she is safe?" Adrian held her eyes steady, unwavering. "I swear to you, Lena, I will not let anything happen to her." Something in his voice, something raw and fierce, made her chest constrict. Then, without another word, he tapped his earpiece and the room exploded into action. "Go," he commanded. "Secure the girl. Keep eyes on all exits. No casualties." Lena clung to the railing of the elevator as it shot down the building, her pulse racing, her fear, an animal clawing inside her. Adrian stood beside her, focused, rigid, the sharp profile of a man prepared to walk straight into danger simply because she asked. When the elevator doors opened, the SUV was already waiting, engine running, doors open. Security men flanked both sides. Lena ran inside, Adrian following without hesitation. The city lights blurred past as they sped through Manhattan, sirens distant, the sky deepening into night. Lena pressed her forehead against the window, imagining Ava alone in the apartment, the way she curled up on the couch when she had panic attacks, the way she whispered her sister's name in the dark. "Please be okay," she begged under her breath. Adrian placed a hand on her knees, steadying her. "I will bring her back to you," he said, his voice low. "Even if it costs me everything." She looked up at him, startled by the intensity in his eyes. "Why would you risk so much for us?" He stared ahead, jaw set. "Because I know what it is like to lose the person you love most. And I will not let you feel that same pain." The SUV screeched to a halt. They arrived at Ava's building. The street was dimly lit, the lamps flickering, the winter wind slicing cold across their faces as they stepped out. Lena saw it instantly, a broken lock on the side entrance door, splintered wood lying across the ground. Her breath left her body. Adrian signaled to his men, and they fanned out, surrounding the building. "Stay behind me," he ordered. "I mean it, Lena. Do not run ahead." She nodded, though her entire body vibrated with fear. They moved inside the stairwell, echoing eerily. A loud crash came from above. Lena's heart stopped. Ava, she sprinted before anyone could stop her. Adrian cursing as he chased after her. She reached the apartment first and froze in the doorway. Ava was pressed into a corner, trembling eyes wide with terror as the man in black advanced toward her. Eli. The name tore through Lena with equal parts grief and fury. Eli turned his head slightly as if sensing her presence. He smiled. "Hey, Lena, been a while?" Her knees nearly gave out, but rage held her upright. "Do not touch her." Eli took another step toward Ava, amused. "Why not? She is part of you, right? Which means she is part of what I need." Before he could finish, a shadow collided with him. Adrian hitting him so hard, the impact shook the wall. The two men crashed to the floor, Eli scrambling, reaching into his jacket. But Adrian grabbed his wrist, slamming it back against the tile, sending the weapon skittering across the floor. "Do not move." Adrian growled, the sound dark and dangerous. Eli laughed, breathless. "Should have known you would come running the moment she cried your name." Adrian punched him again, the sound cracking through the room. "You threatened her. You threatened her sister. And that is something you pay for." Eli spit blood, his grin twisting. "Does she know why you really picked her? Does she know she was just a piece of bait?" Adrian froze for half a second. Lena's heart stopped. Eli continued laughing. He needed someone innocent, someone forgettable, someone the world would not question. "Someone you, someone easy." Lena felt as if the ground had opened beneath her. Adrian whipped Eli against the wall, his voice a lethal whisper. She was innocent. She was never bait. Eli sneered. "You keep telling yourself that, billionaire boy. But you forget something. I know her better than you do. I spent months watching her, studying her, using her." Adrian's fist tightened. "Say one more word about her." Eli leaned forward, eyes wild. "I knew she would fold for you. I knew all you had to do was offer a few hospital bills, and she would be yours." Lena felt her world tilt. Her stomach churned. Adrian's fists trembled. "Do not listen to him, Lena. He is twisting the truth." But the damage was done. The words cut deep, reopening every wound Eli had created. But then she heard something else, a soft whimper. "Ava." Lena rushed to her sister, dropping to her knees, wrapping her arms around her trembling body. "It is okay. I am here. You are safe." Adrian looked over shoulders, straining every muscle to keep Eli pinned. Men moved into the room, securing Eli, locking his arms behind his back, dragging him to his feet. But Eli still stared at Lena with that sickening smirk. "You do not know who you are with," he taunted. "He is not your savior. He is your owner." Adrian lunged, but his men held him back, restraining him. "Enough, sir. He is secured." Eli was dragged away, still laughing. The moment he was gone, the room fell silent, except for Ava's soft sobs and Lena's shaking breath. Adrian stepped forward slowly, as if approaching a wounded animal. "Lena," he said quietly, voice rough. "I did not choose you to use you. I did not choose you as bait. I chose you because I saw someone brave enough to survive this with me." She looked up, tears streaking her cheeks. "And what if I do not want to survive with you?" His face twisted in something like pain. "Then I will still protect you, even from myself." She held Ava tighter, her tears falling faster. Adrian knelt beside her, his voice a whisper. "I will protect both of you." His hand hovered by her shoulder, but he did not touch, not without permission. Lena finally looked at him, really looked at him. His split knuckles, the bruise forming on his cheek, the wreckage of his suit, the fear in his eyes, and something inside her cracked wide open. She reached up, placing her hand against his chest. His breath hitched. "Thank you," she said softly, "for saving her, for saving me." Adrian lowered his forehead to hers, gently, careful, fragile. "You are not the reason I fought tonight," he whispered. "You are the reason I breathe tonight." Lena felt his words settle in the hollow spaces inside her. For the first time, the distance between them disappeared, and she leaned into him, letting the safety of his presence hold the pieces of her she could not carry alone. The ride back to the penthouse was silent except for Ava's soft breathing as she slept curled against Lena's side. Adrian sat across from them, elbows on his knees, bruised knuckles resting against his jaw, eyes fixed on the floor as if replaying every second of the confrontation. Street lights streaked across the windows, painting his face in alternating gold and shadow. Lena watched him, her heart caught in a tangled ache of fear, gratitude, and something deeper she could not name. When the SUV pulled into the private elevator bay, Adrian reached out gently, touching Lena's arm. "I will carry her," he said softly. "You look exhausted." She shook her head. "No, she needs me." He hesitated, then nodded, watching as Lena lifted her sister, cradling her carefully. The elevator rose slowly, feeling heavier than usual, as if weighed down by everything that had happened. When the doors opened, Aura greeted them in her usual calm tone. "Welcome home, Lena. Vitals indicate elevated stress. Would you like a calming protocol?" Lena ignored the voice, moving directly to the guest bedroom as Adrian followed. Once Ava was tucked beneath the blankets and stable, Lena finally stepped back, closing the door quietly. Adrian remained in the hallway staring at the floor, his shoulders tight. Lena approached him, waiting for him to speak, but instead he reached out, lifting her hand slowly, as if afraid she might pull away. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice hoarse. "You ran right into danger without hesitation. You could have been killed." She looked into his eyes and saw not anger but fear. Not for himself, for her. "I had to go," she whispered. "She is my sister." He closed his eyes briefly. "I know. That is why I did not try to stop you harder." He exhaled, shaking his head. "I am not used to caring about someone who might run straight into the fire." She blinked. Someone, not something, someone. Her chest tightened. Adrian opened his eyes, meeting hers again. "You scare me, Lena." His honesty stole her breath, but before she could respond, Aura's voice cut through the hallway. "Adrian, abnormal activity detected in the main system. Possible internal corruption." Adrian stiffened instantly, the fear in his eyes snapping into sharp alertness. He strode toward his study, Lena following close behind, her nerves sparking alive. The screens lit up the moment he entered, flooding the room in cold blue light. Lines of code streamed across the display, error logs read blinking alerts. Adrian's jaw clenched. No, not tonight. Aura, isolate the breach. Running isolation protocol. Extreme concern in synthetic voice. Source of breach appears to originate from within penthouse network. Lena froze. Within. Adrian's hands flew across the keyboard, eyes narrowing. No external signatures. No wireless infiltration. No malware injection. He muttered each sentence through gritted teeth. Then he stopped suddenly, his expression changing in a flash of horror. "Aura, pull up the flagged data." Aura obeyed, and a single line of code filled the screen, highlighted in red. Embedded in the sequence was a digital signature, an identifier left behind by whoever had altered the system. And that signature was unmistakable. Lena, 73. Lena felt the blood drain from her face. What is that? Why is my name in your system? Adrian stood still, staring as if the ground beneath him had shifted. This line of code was used to initiate a bypass into my secure server, he said, low voice brittle. Which means it was written using your digital identity. Lena shook her head rapidly. No, I did not do that. I have never even touched this system. Adrian looked at her, but something in his gaze had changed. Fear, distrust, doubt. She felt the shift like a blade. You think I did this, she whispered. I think, he said slowly, choosing each word with painful caution, that this code did not create itself. Something inside her cracked. After everything tonight, after everything you saw. Adrian ran a hand across his face, pacing in front of the screen. I want to believe you, Lena. I do. But your identity has been at the center of every breach. The bar, your phone, my network, my penthouse. Lena could barely breathe. Because Eli used me, she choked. Not because I helped him. Adrian's voice sharpened. Then why is that signature here now? In my protected system, in my home. She backed up until her shoulders hit the doorframe, tears stinging her eyes. I do not know. I swear I do not know. I fought him. I ran from him. I tried to protect my sister. Adrian's chest rose and fell rapidly, a storm gathering beneath the surface. Then he stepped closer, bracing one arm against the wall, near her head, trapping her in place. His eyes burned inches from hers, torn between fury and something like heartbreak. Tell me the truth, he demanded. Was any of this real for you? His voice cracked on the last word. Lena's breath trembled. All of it was real, she whispered. Every moment, every fear, every feeling. She wanted to touch him, but she was afraid. Afraid for him, afraid of losing him. But Adrian's mind was spiraling. He slammed his hand against the wall beside her, and she flinched at the sound. I trusted you, he said, voice breaking. I let you into the one place no one has ever been allowed. And now my system is compromised again. She closed her eyes, tears falling silently. Check my sister's laptop, she whispered through shaking breath. Eli touched it. He used it for things I did not understand. Maybe he left something. Adrian froze, breathing hard, then cursed under his breath, turning back to the monitors. Aura isolate Ava's network signature. Searching, then a soft ping. Signature match detected. Lena gasped. Adrian stared at the screen, realization washing over him like cold water. Her laptop. It was her laptop. I told you, she whispered, broken. She downloaded something she did not know. She would never mean to hurt anyone. Adrian's hands gripped the desk so tightly, the tendons in his wrists stood out. He closed his eyes, inhaling a shaky breath. I am sorry, he whispered. I was wrong. Pain twisted through his voice, raw and unfiltered. Lena stepped toward him, her voice fragile. Adrian. But he stepped back, as if afraid to break more than he already had. I should not have doubted you, he said, voice frayed. I should have known. You have never lied to me. He glanced at her, then away, shame flickering across his features. I hurt you, again. She swallowed her ache rising in waves. Then fix it, she said quietly. Fix what you broke. He met her eyes, and for the first time, the armor around him shattered entirely. Give me one night, he whispered. One night to repair the system, to secure the network, to make sure Eli can never reach you again. Then I will repair us. He stepped closer but did not touch her, his voice low, full of regret. Do not go anywhere tonight. I need to keep you within reach. She nodded, though her heart felt heavy. Adrian turned back to the glowing screens, diving into the chaotic lines of damaged code. Lena watched him, a lone figure bathed in cold blue light, the weight of guilt and determination bending his shoulders. The man who trusted nothing now fighting to rebuild the one thing he had managed to trust, her. She whispered his name once barely audible, Adrian. He paused but did not look away from the screen. "I will fix this," he said softly. "I will fix all of it." And for the first time, Lena believed him. Lena barely slept that night, haunted by Adrian's face, as he apologized, the shame in his voice, the weight of everything they had survived, and everything still looming over them. She found him still in the study, at dawn illuminated by the pale blue glow of the monitors, his back tense, his hands typing with controlled fury. When he sensed her presence, he stopped without turning. "You should rest," he said quietly. She stepped closer, her voice soft. "I could say the same to you." He finally turned then, and she felt her breath catch. His eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, his shirt wrinkled, his jaw darkened by a night's worth of stubble. But there was something else there too, a resolve that made him seem untouchable and human all at once. "It is done," he said. "The system is clean. The breach is sealed. Aura is fully restored." She let out a shaky breath, relieved. "Good." But his expression did not ease. "There is something else," he continued. "Tonight is the gala, the biggest tech event of the year. My enemies will be there, and Eli will not go quietly." Lena's stomach tightened. "You think he will come for us?" Adrian stepped closer, his gaze steady and burning. "I know he will. He needs you, Lena. You are the only link he has left into my world. That is why tonight I need you with me. Not as bait, not as a shield, but as someone who stands beside me willingly." Her breath trembled. "And if I say no," he paused, his voice low, "then I go alone, and he will still come, and I will not be able to protect you from afar." Silence settled thick between them. Lena looked down at her hands, remembering Eli's laugh, his taunts, his cruelty. Then she remembered Adrian shielding Ava with his body, taking punches, fighting without hesitation, because her life mattered to him. She lifted her chin. "I will go." Adrian's eyes closed briefly, as if in relief. When he opened them, something fierce flickered there. "I will keep you safe," he promised. "I swear it." The rest of the day blurred into preparation. Security briefings teams stationed throughout Manhattan, the penthouse buzzing with movement. Lena stayed near the windows, watching the clouds shift across the sky, trying to steady her breath. Aura's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Lena, your attire has been prepared. Please proceed to the dressing room." She found a gown waiting for her, a deep midnight blue that shimmered like water when she touched it. The fabric hugged her shape, gently elegant, without being revealing, graceful, without trying too hard. She hesitated before lifting it. Adrian appeared in the doorway. "It suits you," he said softly. She turned, startled. "You bought this for me." He shook his head. "No, I chose it. Not for the gala, for you." Her cheeks warmed, but before she could respond, he stepped closer, lifting her hand. "Tonight," he said quietly, "I need you to trust every step I take, every move I make. When things go wrong, do not run. Stay with me. Always stay with me." She nodded, her heartbeat loud in her ears. When she finished getting ready, Adrian waited for her in the living room. He stood in a tailored black suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, just enough undone to reveal the slightest vulnerability. When he saw her, he froze. Lena felt heat flood her skin. Is it too much? Too obvious? Too formal? Adrian stepped forward, his voice a quiet, reverent whisper. "You look like the one thing in this world that does not belong to the darkness." She swallowed her breath, trembling. He offered his arm, and she took it, their fingers brushing lightly before locking together. The SUV drove them through Manhattan, the city glowing beneath the night sky, alive with energy and danger. Security convoys followed discreetly. When the vehicle stopped outside the Grand Apex Hall, the roar of cameras and crowds exploded around them. Hundreds of lights flashed against the black marble entrance banners of the gala, fluttering in the cold winter breeze. Adrian stepped out first, then turned, extending his hand to her with calm authority. The moment she took it, the world erupted. There they are, Adrian Blackwood and the mystery woman. She looks incredible. They look real. They look intimate. The cameras blinded her, but Adrian's hand on her lower back guided her through the chaos, steadying her, pulling her close enough that she felt his warmth through the gown. Inside the hall was breathtaking gold chandeliers, glass walls reflecting the city live orchestral music floating through the air. Adrian kept her close, weaving through crowds of executives, investors, and reporters. Lena caught snippets. "That is her. How did he find someone like that? She seems too genuine. She is probably a distraction. Or maybe he finally fell in love." Adrian ignored all of it, his attention fixed on her. "You are doing perfectly," he whispered. "Just breathe." But something shifted in the atmosphere. Lena felt it like a ripple, a cold prickle crawling up her spine. Aura's voice chimed softly through the small earpiece hidden behind her hair. "Lena, unknown signal detected. Warning, potential threat in the vicinity." Her pulse spiked. Adrian heard it too, because he stiffened, his eyes sharpening as he scanned the room. "Stay close," he murmured. He guided her through the gala, reaching the center of the ballroom, where a stage had been set for the keynote speech. They had just stopped when the lights dimmed slightly, and someone stepped in behind her. A voice brushed her ear. "Miss Me." Lena froze, her blood turning to ice. "Eli." Adrian reacted instantly, pulling her behind him as he pivoted, but before anyone could move, Eli pressed something cold against Lena's back. It was not a gun. It was a blade, slight, but sharp enough to mean everything. One wrong move, one wrong breath, her whole body locked. Adrian's voice dropped into a deadly whisper. "Let her go." Eli smiled, eyes glinting with madness. "You took everything from me, Blackwood, everything. I think it is time she repays what she owes." Adrian stepped closer, slowly, carefully, rage smoldering beneath the surface. "If you hurt her." Eli pressed the blade harder, and Lena sucked in a breath. "Hurt her." He echoed with a laugh. "No, I need her alive. She is my ticket out. She is the only leverage I have left." Adrian's security team moved subtly closer, weaving through the crowd unnoticed, but Eli noticed everything. "One step closer," he warned, "and she bleeds." Adrian stopped, eyes locked on Lena. She could see it, the desperation, the terror, the fury. Lena whispered, "Adrian, please." Her voice cracked. Eli tightened his grip. "Move now. We walk out together, or she does not walk at all." Adrian took a breath, then did something that made her heart stop. He raised his hands, palms open, surrendering. The entire room gasped, murmurs sweeping through the crowd like a wave. Cameras turned, flashing violently. Adrian Blackwood, the most controlled man in the world, lowering his guard, bowing to a threat, because her life mattered more than anything else. His voice trembled. "Let her go. Take me instead." Eli froze, startled. "What?" Adrian stepped forward one more inch. "I said, take me. Leave her." Eli faltered, his grip loosening just slightly in confusion. And that was all Adrian needed. In one swift motion, faster than anyone she had ever seen, Adrian lunged, grabbing Eli's wrist, twisting the blade away, shielding Lena with his body as the two crashed to the floor. Gunshots silenced behind the curtains, security tackling Eli, holding him down as he screamed her name. The crowd erupted, screams, chaos, cameras blurring into light. Lena dropped to her knees beside Adrian, who was on the ground, clutching his arm, blood seeping between his fingers. "Adrian," she cried, grabbing his face. "Stay with me, stay with me." His breathing was ragged, his pupils dilated. He pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. "I told you," he whispered, voice fading. "I did not choose you for the plan. I chose you for me." His head dropped against her shoulder as the sirens filled the hall's security, shouting for medics. Lena sobbed, holding him, her fingers trembling over his wound. "Do not leave me," she begged. "Not now. Not after everything." He tightened his grip around her hand, weak but certain. "I am not leaving," he whispered. "As long as you want me, I am here." Then the medics reached them, lifting Adrian carefully as Lena clung to him, her heart breaking at the sight of him bleeding for her, at the sound of his voice, fading at the truth, finally spoken between them. The hospital room hummed with a low, steady rhythm, machines softly blinking in pale blues and greens, casting gentle pools of light across the white walls and polished floor. Lena sat beside Adrian's bed, her fingers wrapped around his hand, as if holding on to something fragile and irreplaceable. She had not moved in hours, afraid that if she let go even for a moment, he might slip away again into the darkness he had fought his whole life. Adrian looked quiet in a way she had never seen before. No armor, no tension, no walls. Only the steady rise and fall of his chest beneath the thin blanket. The doctors said he would recover, that the blade had missed anything vital. But the blood loss had been severe, and the exhaustion in his system deeper than anything they expected. Lena brushed a strand of hair from his forehead, her heart twisting at the thought of him, stepping into danger to protect her without hesitation, without calculation, without any of the cold logic he used to guide his every choice. She had whispered his name through the ambulance ride, through the sterile hallways, through the frantic rush of voices and hands. He had been unconscious then, but his grip had stayed tight around her fingers, as though his body refused to let her go, even when his mind could not hear her. Now, hours later, Lena finally exhaled the breath she had been holding since the gala. "It is over," she whispered gently. "He is gone. Eli is gone." A soft knock at the door made her look up. Ava peeked inside her face, pale but steadier than the night before. "Can I come in?" Lena nodded, and Ava stepped forward, wrapping an arm around her sister. "You saved me, Ava," whispered voice breaking. "You saved both of us." Lena shook her head, fighting tears. "Adrian saved us," she murmured. Ava looked at him, sleeping, her eyes softening. "He must really care about you." Lena did not respond, but the truth pulsed loudly between them. Adrian had bled for her. Adrian had surrendered for her. Adrian had chosen her with a clarity that terrified and warmed her at the same time. After Ava left to speak with the doctors, Lena settled back into the chair and rested her forehead against Adrian's hand. She had never felt so tired or so awake. She heard the shift before she saw it, the smallest motion, the subtle tightening of fingers around hers. She lifted her head, eyes widening. Adrian. His eyelids fluttered slowly, and then his gaze found hers, unfocused at first, then sharpening with recognition. "You are here," he whispered, Relief punched through her chest. "Of course I am here," she murmured, leaning closer. "I am not going anywhere." He swallowed, his voice rough. "How long was I out?" "Long enough," she whispered. "Long enough to scare me." Adrian tried to sit up, wincing at the pain, but Lena placed a hand on his chest, gently urging him back. "Do not move. The doctors said you need rest." He let out a soft breath, more exhale than laugh. "Rest is not something I am good at." She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face. The quiet vulnerability he rarely allowed visible now in full. "Adrian," she breathed, "why did you offer yourself to Eli? He could have killed you. Why did you do that?" His expression shifted, something old and aching stirring in his eyes. "Because," he said softly, "I know what it feels like to lose everything in a single moment, and I could not let you know that same pain." She felt her throat tighten, her chest fill with something thick and warm. "You did not have to choose me," she whispered. "I did," he said simply. "From the moment I found you in that alley, I chose you. I just did not understand it yet." She leaned closer, her breath shaking. "And what do you understand now?" Adrian reached for her fingers, intertwining them with his, the gesture tender, fragile, and certain. "That pretending was never what we were doing," he murmured. "Not for me. Not after the first night." Lena felt tears slip down her cheeks, but they were quiet, tears warm with something she had been afraid to name. She brushed her thumb along his knuckles. "It stopped being pretend for me too," she whispered. A long silence settled between them, but it was not heavy. It was full. Adrian lifted her hand, pressing it to his heart. "I will protect you and Ava," he said, voice deep. "Not because of any arrangement, not because of obligation, but because your lives matter to me. Both of you." Lena leaned forward, resting her forehead gently against his. His breath mingled with hers, the warmth soft and steady. She had never felt so safe. The door opened again, and Adrian's security team stepped inside, followed by a nurse, but Adrian raised a hand, signaling for them to wait outside. "Not now," he said quietly. "For once I want a moment that belongs only to us." Lena smiled slightly, tears still clinging to her lashes. He let his head sink into the pillow, still touching her hand, and for the first time since meeting him, he looked peaceful, not weighed down by his past, not haunted by ghosts, not bracing for the next attack. Just a man breathing beside someone he trusted. Hours later, after paperwork was signed and tests were done, Adrian was moved to a private recovery suite overlooking the East River. Lena sat beside him, wrapped in a blanket, one of Aura's softer protocols, engaged for warmth and comfort. The city lights shimmered through the large windows, reflecting off the water below. Adrian rested with his eyes half closed, studying her, as if trying to memorize every detail: her face, her breath, the way she tucked her knees under the chair. "You know," he said quietly, "once this is over, you do not have to stay. Your sister is safe. The debt is gone. The danger is gone. You are free." Lena turned to him, her expression soft but steady. "Is that what you want?" Adrian hesitated, something like fear flickering in his eyes. "I want you to choose," he said, "not out of fear or desperation or obligation. If you walk away, I will not stop you. If you stay—" He paused, then continued, his voice lower, "But sure, if you stay, it will not be pretending anymore." Lena felt her heart shift, settling into something solid. She stood, walked to the edge of the bed, and sank gently beside him. She took his hand and placed it against her cheek. "Adrian," she whispered, her voice trembling with honesty, "I stopped pretending long before tonight." His breath caught, Then she leaned forward, pressing her lips softly to his. It was not desperate or rushed. It was slow, steady, the kind of kiss that carried truth healing and the fragile beginning of something real. When they pulled apart, Adrian rested his forehead against hers, his voice barely audible. "Then stay," he whispered. "Stay with me." Lena nodded, her tears slipping quietly down her cheeks. "I will." Morning light began to creep into the room, brushing softly across their faces. Ava entered quietly, seeing them together, and smiled with genuine relief. The three of them shared a long, quiet moment, the kind of moment that felt like the start of something new, something whole, after everything had fractured. Adrian squeezed Lena's hand, and for the first time since she had met him, she felt the future open instead of close. She leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder, watching the sun birth color across the river. And for the first time in years, Lena was not running from danger or fear or a life that had always been too heavy. She was walking toward something, toward someone, toward a love she never expected. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end, even through the twists, the fear, the heartbreak, and the fragile blooming of something real between two people who never expected to find each other. If you felt something while reading, if a moment stirred your chest or made you breathe a little deeper, I hope you will stay with me for more stories just like this one. Stories about hearts learning how to beat again after life has broken them. Stories about imperfect people choosing each other anyway. Stories about danger and devotion, and the kind of love that does not ask for permission. Before you go, tell me where you are watching from. I love seeing our little family grow across cities and states all around the world. Drop your city or country in the comments so I can send a little love back your way. Maybe you are watching from a warm kitchen after a long shift. Maybe from a quiet bedroom in the middle of the night. Maybe from a bus ride home or a lunch break or sitting on your porch breathing in the evening air. Wherever you are, I hope you know you are not alone here. If this story touched you, if you wanted Adrian to live, if you hoped Lena would choose herself and her sister and still find a way to love again, hit the like button, so YouTube knows this is the kind of content worth sharing. It really helps the channel grow, and it tells me you want more stories with this same emotional depth, this same blend of danger, tenderness, and hope. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Join our family so you never miss the next chapter, the next love story, the next night, when two people step out of the dark and into something new. I post stories often, sometimes soft, sometimes intense, always human, always full of heart. Every subscribe, every comment, every like tells me you are here, that you are listening, that these stories matter to you the same way your presence matters to me. And while you are here, tell me your favorite moment in this story. Was it the night Adrian protected Ava? Without hesitation, the moment Lena realized she was stronger than her past? The first time Adrian admitted his fear? The kiss in the quiet, early morning, the confession in the hospital, the moment he chose her above everything else. Or maybe you saw yourself somewhere between the lines, in the parts where people carry burdens silently in the shadows, where old wounds ache, where love feels like risk. If you want more stories like this, billionaire romance, forced proximity, dark tension, slow burn, healing arcs, found family protectiveness and devotion, tell me in the comments. Your feedback guides the next stories, and helps me shape the emotional journeys you want to see. And if you really enjoyed this world, share the video with a friend who loves romance stories with real heart. Maybe someone who needs a little hope or a distraction or just a beautiful ending after a long day. Thank you for being here, for giving these stories a home, and for letting me write the kind of love that does not always look perfect, but always feels true. Till the next story, take care of your heart, take care of your dreams. And remember, love does not have to be perfect to be worth choosing. I will see you in the next episode.